Lailo Makwidiri. The time is 10 minutes before the top of the hour, 10 Central African time. And we're going to be wrapping up the show with a rather interesting conversation. In a landmark decision, South Africa's Constitutional Court has ruled that husbands may now take or hyphenate their surnames to include that of their wives. And that means striking down part of the 1992 Births and Deaths Registration Act as unconstitutional. The law previously allowed only women to change their surname upon marriage. Male spouses who desired the same right had no option. Reaction has been swift. Supporters say the ruling is a win for gender equality, for personal freedom, and just general dignity. But critics say it undermines African traditions, it undermines cultural values, and may erode customs of our family and lineage. And one of those critics is United Africans Transformation, whose national spokesperson, Doer Mabule, has called the ruling a betrayal of traditions, customs, and the sacred values that anchor African society. So today on News and Views, we're going to be speaking to Mighty Mabule to get UAT's full perspective on this, and your perspective on this. Do you agree with it? The fact that men can now, after marriage, adorn their wife's surnames. Mighty Mabule, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you giving us the time this morning, and looking forward to hear your perspective on this rather dividing ruling by the Concord.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting us. Yes, as United African Transformation, we have actually noted with deep concern the judgment by the Constitutional Court, and we're actually saying it's quite unfortunate that after over 1 years of democracy, we indeed experience the pain of having a judiciary that is still not transformed. A judiciary that bases decisions on the Roman Dutch and English law. I mean, you can look at this decision, you'll actually realize that they do not really consider our customs, our values, the way we conduct ourselves as Africans. So this is a clear indication of having a judiciary that is not actually focusing on us as Africans. I mean, a surname is more than a personal label. It's a vessel of history. Its lineage is belonging. So a man's surname is not his alone. It carries the weight of the forefathers, connect the person to the clan, and ensure children inherit the identity of the lineage. That's our culture. But if you're saying then men must take the surname of the woman, now are you saying all your children will be in the surname of the woman? What happens when you get divorced and is married by another? So that man again take the surname of that woman. So you end up having 4 or 5 families all in the same name of that woman. How will those kids be addressed? How will they be connected to the forefathers and the whole clan? So that's so bad.
Some legal experts argue that patriarchy is woven into past surname laws, and that changing them is long overdue. How do you respond to that, to the claim that insisting on tradition may perpetuate the inequality that already exists between men and women here in South Africa?
The legal experts that you are talking about, they are basing all their decisions and their knowledge on laws that are not African. So that's where the problem lies. The type of education that I got is not African education. The South African judiciary is based on the Roman Dutch law and the English law. So that's why when they decide, they must base those decisions on what is happening there. So it's quite unfortunate that we don't have a law that consider Pan-African analysis that ensures that the legal framework and state bureaucracy give attention to the heterogeneity of African logic. So our law is not accompanied by participatory and culturally sensitive policy making, but it's a pure technical amendment that does not really consider how we conduct ourselves, how we live as Africans. So this is just one of the failures of our democracy, one of the failures of our judiciary, one of our failures of the constitution that many assume is the best in the world. Best for whom? That's why many of these problems in this country revolves around the failure of the constitution You talk land, you talk economy, you talk education. Every time there's always the constitution that others praises the best. But how best it does not transform society? How best it does not develop? How best it does not enlighten?
Mm, mm, mm. Do you believe this ruling might be the beginning of a broader redefinition of family naming conventions in the country, identity, or even gender roles within South Africa in itself? And also, how do we balance the traditions and values that we've always had as Africans with modernity? So some people argue that tradition is not stagnant. The things that we know today as traditions and values and quote unquote how we've always done things were not there at some point. They were gradually introduced and we just adopted them as we go. And things like this could be part of that broader conversation that tradition is not stagnant, it moves with the times, so to say.
We allow any modernity to control or influence our life to an extent that our kids and the next generation won't end up knowing who they are, where they come from, then it means we are really misleading the next generation. We're already planning the misleading process of the next generation. So as much as we are saying tradition should not be stagnant, tradition must evolve.
Hmm.
As much as we know that tradition is not like that, but we need to also understand the fact that we don't want the type of development that make us to lose ourselves. We want the type of development that make us to forget who we are. We want the type of development that make us to find it difficult to tell our own kids in the future about our own lineage. So that's the problem. That's the problem. So I don't have a problem with development, but when you have the type of development that destroy our identity, destroy our humanity, then it means we won't have any nation because this nation will be conquered. And I can tell you now, there's a tradition in China, there's a tradition in Europe, there's a tradition in Saudi Arabia, there's a tradition in Qatar. But go and check if those people, their traditions are just influenced by tradition from other nations. You'll find that we are one of the weakest in the world. That's why anyone can come to our country, mesmerize our resources, take our resources, and still govern us with his own laws. And we clap hands and say, is a tradition that is actually modernized. That is not good.
And I think going to on that note, Doer Mighty Mabule, thank you so much for joining us and giving us your perspective on these latest developments.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for inviting us. Kanimambo the Doer, the journey continues.
There you go. That was United Africans Transformations Head of Communications and National Spokesperson, Doer Mighty Mabule, giving us their perspective, their thoughts on that ruling that was made by the Corn Court. And they're basically saying they're going to be putting a spin to this whole thing. South Africa's Constitutional Court ruling that husbands may now take or hyphenate their surnames to include that of their wives. So you can have a double barrel surname as a man to include yours and your wives, or you can just after marriage let go of yours. So you know what, no longer Selailo Makwidiri, I'm married to Lindiwe Mazibuko, for example, and I'm going to be a Lindiwe, I'm going to be a Selailo Mazibuko. X, what do you think? Thumbs down. X says it's madness, but yeah, there are people that are for it, that are saying, the argument they're making is that patriarchy is deeply woven into past traditions, especially things like surname laws, and that changing them is long overdue. 2020, 2025, going to 2026, we're living in the future. Why hold on to those past traditions that many of us don't even know where they come from? That's the argument that is being made. I know for certain, for Africans, for Black South Africans and Africans just generally, surnames, play a much broader kind of part. It's a big deal for us. You are seen as a carrier of a lineage. Your surname is hundreds of years old, and you should do with it what it was done by those that came before you, which is to honor it, which is to respect it, and making sure that it lives on. But we in 2025 now, and it is challenged. And it'll be interesting to see if we're gonna have men who now take their wives' surnames and adorn them, and let go of theirs. But then one thing we should mention, and I think the court also mentions the fact that this ruling doesn't force anyone to take their wife's surname. It simply allows for that option to be exercised, and it's just for people that want it. So if you feel like I'm in a position where I can take my wife's surname, then nothing is hindering you. So go ahead. What do you think? Especially men. Would you take your partner's surname if you were asked to? Because now the law allows it. And for women, now that the law allows it, would you be okay, or would you demand that whoever you get married to, your partner or the person that you're now married to, as much as you've taken their last name and adorned it, would you want them to also do the same, return the favor? You can engage with us. Our studio line is 061-766-0355, or you can give us a call on 011-680-0355. Otherwise, we're going to keep the conversation going on our various social media pages. We have unfortunately come to the end of today's edition of News and Views. It's been another brilliant one, educational, insightful, entertaining, and we'll be back with you again tomorrow for the Wednesday edition of the show. Otherwise, right after me at 11, Julie Ali is back with Tuesday mid-morning Tuesdays with Julie Ali. There's another brilliant show that is waiting for you, 11 until 1. Hope that you enjoy it. And yeah, I'll be back with you again tomorrow. Stay tuned to Salam Media, and don't forget to follow us on our various social media pages. If you're just watching and haven't liked or subscribed yet, please do so. Before I let you go, I think there's a comment on our WhatsApp line. Is from one of our listeners. They're saying, in Islam, if you're allowed 4 wives, in Islam, if you're allowed 4 wives, then you'll have 4 different surnames plus your surname. Yeah. So basically, yeah, if you are willing to take your wife's last names and you are in a polygamous marriage, then you'll have 4 surnames. I think we're going to leave it on that note. Jazakla so much to whoever sent us that comment. I'll be back with you again tomorrow. Shap shap.